Well, good evening, beautiful people. I am your host, Nicole Blackman, and I welcome you to another segment of Success in Motion, where we discuss topics that will inspire, empower, and promote to catapult you to the next level in your life. I thank you all for joining in this evening. It is a beautiful day if you are here in Michigan. If you're not, I'm not sure what it looks like, but we've had some rainy days here and we finally have gotten some sunshine. So I'm so excited about that. So I just want to, again, just thank you all for joining us today, because you could have chosen to be anywhere else, but you decided to come on and hear about the very informative information that we will be sharing on today. And I think that is something that's beneficial to everyone, regardless of what position you're in, what career you're in, what profession you're in, and all of that, okay? So we have been talking about leadership, okay? I'm running a 10-part series on how to become an effective leader. Last week, we had Council Member Michael Bridges, who came on and shared about how to build an effective team or a successful team. He is a candidate for state representative for District 37. So he shared some very valuable information with us. And then we also had Commissioner in Detroit, Monique Baker McCormick, and she just gave us some very insightful information in regards to some initiatives that is going on in the city of Detroit, and just how they have been helping families who have been seriously impacted by the COVID-19. So staying in that vein, it's all about leadership, okay? So I have a special guest, and I'm just going to share a little bit about her. Her name is Essence Coates, and she is the president and CEO of Success Prep. Okay, Success Prep is a professional writing service for resumes, written statements, profile, and confidence building to land that job you deserve. And if you're struggling to put your talents on paper, then she will definitely help you out. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to successfully prepare yourself to return to the workforce, for those of you who are not entrepreneurs, or even if you are, okay? And we know that, according to the United States Department of Labor, there has been nearly 36.5 million people who are unemployed right now, okay? And, just this year alone, more than 23 million Americans were unemployed as of mid-April. That is a lot of people. But I truly believe, and this is me and my optimism, that even though this pandemic has caused grief, losses, anger, fear, and just, uncertainties, even in the midst of all of that, on the other side of this, you all, it's literally new beginnings, new horizons. We all, at this point, everyone is on the same playing field, regardless of how much money you have, regardless of how little money you have. Everyone, for the most part, has been reset. So this is giving everyone the opportunity to reinvent yourself, to build up that confidence, to educate yourself in things that maybe you've been wanting to educate yourself in or learn more about. But particularly, I would like for us to talk about how, we can successfully get ourselves back into the workforce. So, Essence, I thank you for joining, and I'm going to just let you go ahead and just share with us some information in regards to, first of all, we know that resume writing is extremely important. my resume is like old, but I've not necessarily had to, really update it really. And if I have, I just, add on the new thing. But what is the process and some of the steps that you can share with us in regards to getting your resume together first before, going to look for that new job?
Absolutely. One of the things I wanted to start off by saying, I think that the common misconception is that you should only have one resume. When in reality, if you have multiple different backgrounds or experiences that you have, it's important to have what I like to call a target resume, choosing that area or that industry that you're looking to brand yourself in. That's what's most important. A lot of the resumes that I do see that come in, I know, Nicole, you kind of say like yours is old, so to speak, but it's really about how do you grab the audience of the job that you're looking to obtain? Like, how do you make yourself relevant to what a lot of employers are looking for? But I also want to make sure that we make it clear now that because of COVID-19, now the employees or the potential employees, it's time to start interviewing the employers. I think that now we start putting that responsibility back into the hands of the employers and say, what can you do for the people? I think that since the pandemic happened, a lot of companies, the sheet has been pulled down, and a lot of things have kind of come out that maybe we didn't know about before, things we didn't see before. And now as we try to get back to a new normal, the curtain is up, but we can't ignore the things that we saw about those employers. So I would encourage a lot of people to use this time, whether you're looking to switch employers, you want to stay with the employer you're with, or if you're just kind of looking to see what's out there. It's very corny. Some people would say it maybe like resume writing 101 is to do research about the companies. I can't stress enough now how important it is to know about the company that you're, or even the path or the industry that you're looking to get into. I'm a part of the mortgage industry. I've been in the mortgage industry for about 5 or 6 years now, and I know that a lot of what's happening right now is a direct effect on the job that I have, how I'm able to communicate with my clients, how we're able to, as a business for the companies that I have worked for. I won't mention the companies' names, but just making sure that you're interviewing the employer and seeing how, with the new normal, what does the new normal look like for you as the potential employee, and how can that company's culture help, make your life easier? Because it's not about work and life. We're now in a time where it's just about life, and we need to know how can a company make your life easier. And I think that that's the most important thing here when choosing a new employer or even choosing to stay with the employer that you're with right now.
That's good. I like what you said in regards to, having a target resume. And, of course, of course, years ago, so we have like a mixed group of individuals who are on the call, so we have young people who are on the call, and then we also have those, of us who, we've been out there for years, and, and it's just a matter of just, reinventing yourself. So, you mentioned in regards to, again, the target resume and making sure that you're finding out, doing research about these companies before actually applying to them. So when doing that, I know that, a lot of times your resume will list your objectives or your summary and things of that nature. So what are some of the things that we need to put on our resume that will help us to stand out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was actually looking at a few resumes today, and one of the things that kind of stood out was the objective. And I think that people kind of get lost in what the objective means. The objective is, what is the goal? What is the goal that you're looking to accomplish in the role? And again, that comes to doing the research behind the company and the role itself. If you know that your path is, I don't know, let's just say it's management, right? But the role that you're applying to is an entry-level role, but you've done your research to know that that path eventually gets you to management. You want to market yourself that way. I know that sometimes people get caught up in, I know we kind of talked about before, how do you want to call it, maybe ageism in a sense, or maybe they feel like they're overqualified. I'll put it that way. Maybe overqualified for the role. But again, when you do the research and the positions that you're going into, it may seem like you're overqualified right now, but that could also be a good pointer for you to be fast-tracked to get to where you're looking to get. So it's very important that you make it, again, it's about my company per se is about finding those words for you, because sometimes people know how to do the job well, but they don't know how to market themselves to tell the employer, like, look, this is what I can do. And that's kind of like what we do as Success Prep, is helping find those words for you to make yourself marketable. But definitely in a time like this, I encourage, brush up on those skills that are transferable. I had a resume today where I was reviewing, and the candidate is he used to be in the military. And I'm like, the military is great because there's a lot of transferable skills in there. When I'm reviewing the resume, it's like a lot of the things, I'm not in the military, right? So a lot of those things I'm looking at, I'm not really sure what they mean. But I do know that there's a lot of things about what you're trying to tell your audience are transferable into the role that you're looking to accomplish. So it's a lot of times, and even trying to go into industries that they're not familiar with, right? Or coming straight out of college, and maybe you have a finance degree, but you're going into something you're really not that sure about. Find those. It's about those transferable skills. Like, can the employer use those skills and develop you into what they want you to be, and also stay true to yourself as well. Because I do know that a lot of these companies, you can get so caught up in the culture, right, that you end up staying in places that don't make you happy as well. And I think that is just as important as well.
That's true. I remember I worked for a subsidiary of one of the big three some years ago, and I had a conversation with one of my coworkers, and he was like, why would anybody want to leave here? And I'm like, but why not? What if you could go to another organization and either make the same amount that you're making or make more, and if it's the case of making more, why not leave, to get something fresh. And I remember when I was in my early 20s, I knew that I would not spend 30 years at anyone's place of employment. I knew that I'm not that much older now, but
right.
Anyway, but I knew that, but to keep yourself marketable, and like you said, the wording, because I think a lot of times people forget about that, because there are those key words that, so when you apply for a position, and whomever it is, the hiring manager, human resources, or whomever it is that they have looking at resumes to pick out, hey, this may be someone we can have to come in and interview, so I know you mentioned, the resume, having a target resume for that specific, position or whatnot, but what are some of the other words or keywords that are catchy, that, that you can also use in lieu of those target words?
I think that a lot of, so for instance, when I was maybe looking into a role that was a management role, I know that the employer is looking for someone that's dependable, right? So I did the research on the role. Again, you go back to do the research on the company and the role that you're looking to go into, and being honest with yourself too. Can I fulfill the roles that they're asking? Can I fulfill the tasks that the employer is actually asking of that candidate? So I think that just using words like dependable is small words. They don't have to be big things that you need to go to the dictionary and find a word for. Just finding those key words, especially in our generation. I know that you brought up, like, you knew very early on in your career that you weren't working 30 years at one particular employer. Well, that's exactly how it is now for my generations and the generations to come. Our generations aren't staying with the same employers for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's very important. Even for myself, like I remember saying to myself, I went into a role where I made substantially less than I made right now, and it was the happiest I had ever been. And it's like, so with those roles that you're asking for comes responsibilities, and it's also making sure that you can handle the responsibilities that come with those roles, again, and being honest with yourself. But using words like dependable, being punctual. If you know you're not punctual, don't use that word. I'll be honest. Like, that's not who I am. I'm a mom. I have 2 kids. I do my best to be punctual, but I wouldn't dare put that on my resume, because I know for a fact that's not something that I can. How can I put it? It's something that I can work on, but it doesn't limit my abilities for what they're looking for in my role. Put it that way. But again, just using those very simple things, dependable, I'm punctual. A lot of people that are looking to go into leadership, tell us how. I remember looking at a resume one time for a manager who was going into a role that was like a regional manager. She was a branch manager, but she wanted to become a regional manager. And all she kept doing was writing down all these numbers. Like, I was number 1 at this, and I was number 2 at that, and numbers were this and this and that. And I'm like, well, they can see that already. They have those numbers already. Show them the things that they can't see. Tell them about the group meetings that we do when you sit down and you break down each person's personality and figure out what works for each individual. Show them how you can you can lead a group of people. Numbers, if we're being honest, I was a part of those numbers. Those numbers that you're talking about was because of the work that I did. They want to know the work that you did and how can you, be able to manage a region of people to be able to have that same outcome. But again, just transferable skills. They're nothing that's too crazy. Just using very simple words, dependable, reliable. Like those, believe it or not, it's very hard to come across those types of employees. So those type of things really do stick out. And again, it's all about the type of role that you're going into and doing the research. So you make sure you're not stepping into something you have no business going into.
That's true, because it will show. So switching gears, so we're talking about resumes, but so you've written this bomb resume. The employer is like, hey, it catches their attention, and I've seen where even though the numbers, we know that there are so many millions of people who are unemployed, but yet there's so many employers who are hiring. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting, So because it seems like now, so how they say that it's a buyer's market in the housing industry. Yeah. And now it's like, okay, there's a plethora of jobs that are available now, mm-hmm. Or that will be coming up. So with that, what are some of the things now, because of the current pandemic, what should we be looking for and asking these employers before we come aboard? So, like, should we be interviewing them? And if we Absolutely. Should be, what are some of those questions that we should be asking them?
Absolutely. Just like you said, we are now in the times where it's time to start interviewing the employer to make sure that the employer is a good fit for us. I do know that the governor had signed an executive order for there to be a COVID-19 response plan. And I think that it's very important that people know that when you're going into an interview, ask what that response plan looks like. If they don't actually have one, according to what research I've done, if they don't actually have one, they have to have it readily available to their employees within 14 days of face-to-face contact. Asking what does PPE look like? One of the things I did read, which I thought was really, really cool, I wanted to share, is that the governor signed an order to assign a director to the state, which essentially is like the police for COVID-19, to make sure that there's not actors out here, meaning companies that are saying, we have the PPE, come back to work. Okay, let's make sure you actually have the PPE, and that if when you run out, you have a backup. And what is the backup plan? What does that look like? And knowing what a part of that plan as well when returning to work is that they have to be able to have a place that if I go into the bathroom and something doesn't look right, or it doesn't look clean, or doesn't look sanitary, there has to be a place that I can go to report that without feeling like my job is in jeopardy. Because at the end of the day, without the people, the businesses don't have a business. So it's important that they take care of the people first. And I think that when returning to work or doing these interviews, now is the time to ask those types of questions. Like, one of those things too, like I know you and I kind of talked about before, is sometimes people don't know what to ask at the end of the interview. Well, the employer you left, or whether you were, terminated or however it was that you left, try to think about the top 2 or 3 things of why you left that company and ask those things of that company, and see. It's just like when you're going to pick out a new cell phone. Like, what did you hate about your old cell phone that you absolutely do not want in the new cell phone? What did you love about the cell phone that you absolutely have to have? Because the reality is that every company is going to have their, I guess the nice way to say it is BS, because a lot of people are, people may be dealing with those types of problems. But it's really about what are the most important things to you, because the company can't make everything beautiful for one person, right? They can't. But right now, we're in a time where everyone's trying to find the new normal. So you should be at a point now where you're comfortable with going to your current employer or your prospective employer to ask those questions about PPE, asking what that looks like. You know, what is a normal day in the office? I know that I'm in the industry where there's common areas. We share kitchens, we share gyms, we share coffee spaces, we share lunchrooms, like, because it was built to be that way. But now I want to know, so what does it look like now? You know, and if you can't keep your people within 6 feet per the order, they have to wear masks, right? So does that job make sense for me to be wearing a mask while I'm doing my job? So, and I guess that kind of goes back to the companies that are acting, right? If you're telling your people that they have to come back into the office, does it make sense really for them to be back in the office right now, or is it immediate need for the business? But I'm very, very excited to know about the governor appointing that person, because it exposes companies, because right now is a time where it is about the people, and I think that is very important for the employers to show what they mean by the people being the most important part of their business, and now is the time to do that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's very, very important. I know I've been on, Facebook a little bit and just scrolling through some of the people's feeds, and I noticed one young woman, and they had to go back into work, and she used some Clorox wipe or some disinfectant wipes and cleaned off her desk, and then she showed what it looked like, and her desk was still dirty, but they called them back to work saying that they had done a deep clean, So it's like, wow, what deep clean according to who,
Right.
What are those standards? I want to talk a bit too about, still interviewing the interviewer, and in regards to like childcare, because a lot of, people now, we've been home, for those who have young children at home, and, if they're looking to go back into the workforce, it can be kind of difficult with schools still being closed, and not certain if schools are going to reopen in the fall, and if they do, is it going to be 5 days a week, or is it going to be limited to like a certain number of days? Mm-hmm. So are those some of the questions that need to be asked also when speaking to the employer? How do they handle childcare, right?
Absolutely, yeah, because I myself, I have 2 kids. My daughter's not in school. Well, they're doing the virtual thing, which I'm the teacher then, right? And then I have my son who's also out of daycare. And it's also about being proactive as well, just outside of the employer, being proactive as the prospective employee or the employee right now, and reaching out to the daycares, because everybody's uncertain. It's not just the employers. The schools are uncertain. The daycares are uncertain. Everything's tentative around how the governor responds to the state of Michigan. Myself, I've already, in this time that we've been out, I've researched multiple different daycares. I've been keeping in contact with them. I've been getting emails and keeping updates, just so that I know what that new normal that I'm looking for from my employer. If I don't know what's going on, how can I bring it to it's not my employer's job to know about the child care, maybe how to respond, but not necessarily, that's my job as the employee and the potential employee for those that are looking. But again, like asking those questions about the company culture. And I know that sometimes, myself included, whenever I'm looking at a new position or even positions for other people, is, we look at stuff like Glassdoor reviews. We look at all these different reviews of the company. But I also recommend looking to someone that you personally know, because, reviews, right? People are more likely to go on these websites and they leave negative reviews. And sometimes it's not always a direct reflection of the company. I mean, if you see 6 of them in a row saying the same thing, then you probably should be paying attention, right? But I do know that sometimes I've had people tell me things about certain positions, and had I not taken on that opportunity myself, I wouldn't have gained the experience that I have right now. Their experience is not my experience. But then it comes down to, you have to do your homework. You got to do the research before you sit in front of these employers or try to have these conversations. Like, know what your new normal looks like, at least as close as you can, right? Because it's still a lot of uncertainty. But what does a new normal look like for you, and being realistic in what that looks like? Because a lot of these employers, we're at a time where they have to start shifting. Everybody has to start shifting to start catering to the moms, to start catering to the kids that are out of school, the kids that are out of daycare. Like, what's their response plan to that? And those are some of the questions that I think that in the past, I can say honestly, as a mom of two, there has been times where I was afraid to have those conversations. Eventually, I had to learn that, I can't be afraid to have those conversations, but even more now than ever, it's a new normal for everybody. So you have to be able to have those conversations, right? Because without moms, you can't procreate, right? So, you have to be able to have those conversations, again, because it's not life and work, it's just life. At least that's how it's going to be for a while. I'm sure which a lot of people have seen what that looks like. It's scary for some of us trying to be parents, trying to be teachers, trying to be a daycare, and working full time is a lot. It's a lot.
That's right. That is a lot. I don't want to brag, sorry. But I will. No. So my youngest daughter just turned 18, and she is, her last day of high school is this Friday, and I'm super excited, Yeah. But so one of the things is that by me being a single mom for 26 years, I worked a lot of, well, not a lot, but I worked different jobs based on me being a single mom and needing to be able to be accessible to my children, because of not having that kind of support. But now, if you have, so let's just say you have a single mother who is in the situation that I'm in, all the children are now grown. Let's just say they've, only been doing certain work based on what they could do to make sure that they were in their children's lives actively, and now it's time for them to find a career. What would be some of the advice that you would give, and what does that person's resume look like? Because again, they may not have those, what can I say, the experience as far as being in an actual office, working, but being at home, being a caregiver, being a mother, and, different activities that the children have. How does one set up their resume to make it look dynamic?
I would say, for one, I think that we we forget how much being a parent is a real job. And those things are transferable, very, very much transferable, just like the guy that's in the military. I tell the people, even when I interview, like, I'm a mom, so I multitask. I manage multiple people. All of those are real characteristics. Those are real skill sets. Like, being a mother is a real job. Like, it's right. I don't need to be paid for it, but it's a lot. It's an 80-hour work week in a day. That's what it feels like. But no, like, there are some things, and again, it just depends on what that mom is looking to get back into, right? So, like, I know that a lot of mothers, just in my experience, right, there's a lot of moms that are looking to go back into the workforce after having children, like yourself, that have graduated and stuff like that, who aren't looking for a 50, 60-hour, 70. They're still looking for those types of jobs that are still, like, I don't know, let's say 8 to 3, 8 to 4. They're not looking for something to take up their entire day. They're just looking for something to do. Okay, they're just looking for something to do. And a lot of, and not saying that that's what every one of them would like to do, but I know a lot of, like, my daughter's school, a lot of the office staff that are there, I've seen them because they were there when I was coming up in elementary school. It was the kind of the same type of concept. They were the moms that were able to come to school and help out for lunch and stuff like that. But then when their kids graduated, they needed something that was for them. And transitioning, especially into the school systems, it's something about the school systems and mothers. It's an easy transition. It's not difficult for mothers to transition right into the school setting. And I think it is because of that nurturing side of what it means to be a mom. So again, there are a lot of transferable skills that come with being a mother. You don't have to have a previous job that says, I did exactly what you're asking for right now. No, what you're asking for is somebody that can multitask. I can do that, and I do it well. I have 3 children. You know what I'm saying? So a mom is probably my favorite, because I think that moms are superheroes. I really do. And those are not complicated resumes for me. Those are probably the easiest, because our jobs are real. Our jobs are real, and those are transferable skills for sure.
Wow, that absolutely. I agree, I agree, and doing the same same thing.
Yeah.
I know some years ago, I did. I wasn't working per se. I had just started my business and wanted to be able to still be, participate. And so I became one of those what do they call them? One of those parent helpers with one of the teachers who would go in and, make copies of, different
Mhm.
worksheets and everything for one of the teachers and all that, but just, staying active,
Mhm.
and also, not looking for something that was full time because again,
Mhm.
you want to work around your children's schedule.
Yep.
And then definitely if you work in the school district, I mean, your schedule is phenomenal because
Yeah.
you're home when your children are home and you're out when they're out,
Mhm. Mhm.
But just those
Absolutely.
skills, like you said, those are skills that are definitely not something that you want to just kind of, look over,
Mhm.
because those are skills that you earned, shoot,
Mhm.
you're a
Mhm.
team builder, a manager, like you said,
Yeah.
multitask,
Yeah.
you know,
All of those
keep
things
the
are
schedule
real.
together. Yes, yes, indeed.
Right.
Yes,
Absolutely.
indeed.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
so what about those who, they are just, they're like, I'm done, with working for someone else. I don't want to work for anyone else anymore. Um, you know, there may be employers who may have the option of working remotely, but then again, what does that look like? Or is that something that these employers will take into consideration because it's an invisible, the pandemic is something that has been invisible. And, you know, you can go back to work and they said, asymptomatic person who, they may be a carrier, but they didn't have a full blown, COVID experience, but yet the person who's supposedly 6 feet away and was 6 feet, that's not that far away if you
Not
really think,
enough.
you know? And so, a person who's like, you know what, I want to go ahead and just start my own business and not necessarily have it be a hobby, but an actual business, you being successful in that, what suggestions or what advice would you give someone who's looking to start their own business?
I think that right now, entrepreneurship is definitely on the rise. If a lot of people, especially the younger generation, if they follow Instagram and all these different social media sites, it's all about being an entrepreneur. And I think that I would use this time more now than ever to figure out what it is that you're good at. What is it that you're good at and no one can take from you? What is it that like that degree for some people, no one can take that from that person. What is it that do you know how to do hair and you can do it well? Figure it out. If you know how to do nails and you can do it well, figure out how you can make it a business. Like there's not, and even if that business doesn't work, that's all right. Move on to the next thing that you're good at because a lot of us are good at multiple things, myself included. I'm good at a lot of different things, so sometimes it's hard to kind of narrow down what I want my business, for instance. It's professional writing and everything, but I also like to be able to speak and help other people. There's healing and talking to people as well. So just finding something that you're good at, brush up on it, and really put a good focus on it. There's I meant to write it down, and I'm so sad that I didn't. There was a book that Will Smith was actually talking about on his Instagram that I want to follow up on, which I think would be I didn't get to read. I read like an insert of it when I looked it up online just before we came on, but it was just kind of like taking that leap of faith. So what if you fail? Just try again, But definitely using this time to figure out what it is that you're good at. Write down 3 things that you're really, really good at and narrow it down to something that no one can take from you and make it a business. It's just that some people are making money for doing absolutely not, like doing nothing right now. Like I'm watching it and I'm just like unbelievable. Like let me figure out if I can figure out how to do nails. I just discovered that I don't own polish, stuff like that. Like as you like just figuring those things out. I've had friends of mine that I've seen do phenomenal makeup, and I'm like, people pay you to to show them how to do makeup. Like there's a lot. YouTube, it's free to sign up. Like there's so many things you could teach people how to do. Most of the things I've learned how to do them on YouTube, except for the talent. Talent is different. But definitely using this time. And then I think that it's very, very important to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. like you are, people do not understand how important it is to that the company you keep. It's so important to be protective of the energy that you keep around you, because I think that it's important to keep. There's a girl that I worked with that I absolutely admire. She's working out. She's in her workout thing, and the confidence is amazing. It's absolutely inspiring to watch how dedicated she is to that. She's been using that time to focus on her health, but also building a business out of her health as well. So there's all, and again, there's talking and healing. How can I help someone help me, right? Do what I love to do. And that's really what it comes down to. Is for me, it's about service for the people. For somebody else, it could be something totally different. And you just have to kind of figure out what that is for you. And right now, I think is the best time. And again, to surround yourself with people like Nicole Blackman, especially when it comes to building a brand and building a business and just knowing where to start. Because I think that a lot of times it's not that people don't have skills and they don't have talent. They just don't know where to start. So just maybe, again, surrounding yourself with people, networking with people to figure out what that looks like for you.
Thank you, Essence, for that compliment. Also, I believe that it is extremely important. I know you and I talked, and we were talking about how if you're the let's see, we can say the smartest person in your group, then it's time for you to elevate to the next level. Absolutely, because we know, you can't stay in a place and you can, and this is even, even with our employers and things, at some point you can get to the point where it's just like, you know what, I have outgrown this place, or I've outgrown a certain group of people, and I'm really, really desiring to go to that next level, but the people that you're around, they keep keeping you at a certain level, which is a low level. You know that you need to go here, but you keep entertaining that weight, And, I know I usually have shared in my calls and conferences before, I had a friend years ago. He was like a mentor to me, an older gentleman. And he said, Nicole, you have to dump dead weight, And I think even in this time, too, not only do we all have a clean slate, we have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. This is the time where it's like, okay, just be who you are. We talked about this too, in regards to everyone's appearance, Now, my tagline with Strategic Image Consulting is make your first impression a lasting impression. And I was pondering on that today, and I said, I was thinking yesterday or today, and I was thinking, I said, that's still my tagline, but at the same time, when, because again, we're not able to meet face to face to do interviews, so we have to do things that are virtual, and yet there are people who, they cannot do their own hair. They can't, men can't cut their own hair. They don't know how to line themselves up. Females, they don't know how to wash their own hair or just get it presentable, But you can still, throw on something nice. Your hair may not be together. You may not have on makeup or whatever, but that does not take away from who you truly are, because it's what's on the inside that we should be looking at more so than the outer appearance, And a lot of people can miss out on, employers can miss out on that employee who literally was going to help take their business to catapult it to another level because they were so focused on the outer appearance. My thing is, if a person has the information that you need, regardless of what they look like, because, everybody's not attractive, but everybody's not unattractive either. You know what I'm saying? But if a person has what you need, then that's who you need to go with, because you can have someone who, they have it all together. They look like they have it all together, and they can't give you a penny. And I'm not making it about money, but they don't have anything of value that's going to help to take you higher. So we have to, make sure that we're keeping that in mind, And even for those who are looking for work or, looking to reinvent themselves, you may not necessarily be able to brand yourself in the way that you would like, but I mean, you got that information on the inside. Like you mentioned, you hit on one word, you said talent. Talent is, you can't take talent away from someone, the Bible says that our gifts, come without repentance. So a person with talent and with the gifts that they have, that God has given to them, you can't take that away, So we just have to make sure that in this time that we are definitely being true to ourselves. And hey, we have a voice. We can say to these employers, okay, this is what I need from you. I can be that asset to you, but this is what I need from you. Can you accommodate? And if not, it's okay.
Yep. And I think that people have to be okay with having those conversations. Like you have to, especially now, if you didn't have the courage now, like, I mean, a lot of people know my personality, right? I don't really, I don't have issues having those conversations. I guess that's how I put it, right? I don't have issues having those conversations. There you go. There you go. I'll put it that way. That's how we'll put it.
Yeah.
But now more than ever, like, don't be afraid to have those conversations, because it's not just you. You're not the only one having to have those conversations, whether you have kids or not, because I will tell you, like, some of the things that I face as a mom in the work field is always feeling like I know for a fact that I could be one of the best employees that a company has to offer. But I also know that I want to be the best mom that I want to be to my kids. And we're often forced to choose between the two. And it's like, no, I shouldn't have to choose. I'm good at both. And why can't I just do both? Right? Why don't, if it were someone that didn't have kids, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But I'm telling you that I can outdo the person that doesn't have the children and still get the job done. It's about, can we get the job done at the end of the day? That's what it comes down to. Can the job get done at the end of the day? But I definitely, there's people even that from my previous employer that I've told as well, like, don't be afraid. At the end of the day, these employers, these are platforms. You are good at what you do because you put in the work to learn, to know what you know, to take what you have, and whether it's here or whether it's going somewhere else, take that with you. No one can take that from you. And I think that a lot of times that these employers have instilled a lot of fear in people to believe that it won't be better than it is here. Or, you can't, like, it's almost like people are afraid that if they leave, it's almost like they're stripped of everything that they knew. And it's like, no. You take everything you take it with you, and you make it better for the next company. Any company that I've left and I went to another company was to take what I knew and what I learned to try to make that next company better. Some companies aren't ready to make that change, and that's okay. That change is okay too. But it doesn't mean that I stop. It doesn't mean that I stop advocating for that change. It just means that maybe that change isn't not for here. Maybe I can use what I know is elsewhere. And people have to understand that it is just a platform. It's a platform. You're good at what you do because you put in the work to be good at what you're good at, and that's it. That's what it comes down to, and no one can take that from you. Just as simple as that. Those simple things.
Yeah. That was empowering. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
That was very impactful and very, very powerful, because, a lot of people are afraid, because of, if you don't have a job, then you can't pay your bills and things of that nature. But understanding who you are and what you bring to the table. Absolutely. And if, so the saying is, what may seem to be rejection is just redirection,
Amen. Mm-hmm.
And if you can stay with the positive attitude that you have in regards to all of that, and just, it's all about perspective, looking at it from that positive perspective, like, okay, you're not the only one, you know, and I can take everything that I have, everything that makes me who I am with me. And you're not stripping me of anything, like you said. That's
and that's the thing too is take that, own that, and know that when you go into another interview, take all of that with you. There's a feeling about, there used to be a point in time in my life prior to the writing the resumes, when I was learning how to write my own, right, way early on, where I'd be terrified. I'm sitting by the phone waiting for the phone to ring, to the point where you get to the point where the phone doesn't stop ringing, and now you're in a position to start choosing who's the best option for me. And that's really what it comes down to. But it was me taking those skills from each And every one of those employers, I took something from each and every last one of them, and it made me who I am. And I take that into every single interview that I go into and say, this is what I have to offer. So now what do you have to offer me? And teaching people to carry, and I get it, that's something that you eventually develop that confidence to be able to do that. But when you're going after a role that you know you're good for, there's nothing more attractive to that employer than that confidence. There's nothing more attractive to them than that confidence and knowing that you can do the role. And I promise you, that phone call you're waiting for will come a lot sooner than expected. Just carry that confidence that you got it, and keep an energy, right? Keeping that energy, keeping certain energies around you. Like I can't, maybe get you a little sage, clear out any bad energy. Just keep good energy around you, because like it's very, very powerful, and I don't think that people understand the power of energy and positivity. It's very easy. I do have my days where I'm negative. I'm going to be realistic with myself. Yes, I have days where I'm very negative. But I'm just thank God that those days are fewer than the days that, that I'm able to get up and pull myself up, because at the end of the day, I have to get up, keep pushing, keep pressing on, because I have 2 little people that are watching me as well.
Mm-hmm. So. All right. Well, yes, that definitely was empowering. Well, Essence, I thank you so much for joining us on our Success in Motion video conference on today. I was just really excited that you had time to join us.
I love. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
With your presence. It's about, I just want to ask, does anyone in the audience have any questions? Is there, while we have Mrs. Success Prep on the line, does anyone have any pressing questions that they would like to ask her at this time? This is the time for you to get those questions answered. And
I just realized that there was a chat box. And
no one has put anything. No one has any questions. Well, all right. Well, Essence, I thank you so very much once again for joining us on today. This has truly been a very informative discussion on today that so many people can definitely benefit from. And, again, this is the time.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
How are you? This is Robert. And I do have a question. It took me a minute to get unmuted. How are you, Essence?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Wonderful. So I've been with my employer now for 14 years. Mm-hmm. I plan to leave this job, but I'm wondering how my longevity or my consistency may play out in my resume. Having one job for 20, 25 years. I have a few years left before I leave, but I want to start prepping my resume now for my next career or I call it my retirement job, my fun job. Okay. I love what I do now in education, but when I leave education, I'm not sure if I want to be a contractor with multiple companies. I love to speak. However, I am also a leader in my school district. And so I know I have the leadership quality. I know that I have a passion to teach young people, but I also have a passion to help anybody I can. How does that transfer to a resume, or how do I start that now, ideally, to open up to smaller companies to walk me into my future?
So I think that, Mr. Robert, I think that I'm not sure exactly what it is that you do right now, but I would probably narrow down the most important things that you've gathered in the 25 years of what you've been in. What are those transferable skills that you're looking to take with you? Because you said that you're looking to possibly get contracted with, saying with other schools, or
whether it be with schools or other companies. I would love to be able to walk into a corporation and say, hey, your company needs that positive energy that you were speaking of. Not to be so blunt with it, but ideally, I want to come in and be that inspirational speaker to improve your bottom line by making sure your employees feel valued, not just by you, but by the people that you bring in to lift them up.
I like that a lot, actually. I think that, I mean, obviously don't know you personally, but I think that what I've kind of gathered from what you're saying right now is you already have the qualities that you have and what you've gained over the last 25 years, believe it or not, are very easily transferred to a resume to go into what you're looking to accomplish. Especially leadership right now is so warranted right now. Like even myself, I've even thought about possible consulting work for like leadership as well. That's maybe something we can actually talk about together outside of the call. But I definitely think that especially in education, coming from that educational background, that those skills that you have are very easily transferable. And I can actually talk more with you one-on-one about how to make those transferable skills to be able to go into an employer, like the employer I just left, per se. I know that those types of positions are always open and out there, those leadership roles, and they're looking for people that come with backgrounds like what you have. So just making sure that it's all about relevance, right? Knowing what the employer is looking for and finding out what skills you have that are relevant to what they're looking for, that's what you put on paper. When you get in the interview, you sell everything else yourself. It's what the audience or the person that's looking at the resume is only going to look at it for so many, I want to say, depending on what research you look at anywhere from 10 to 15 seconds before they make a decision. So you just want to get the things out there, the most important things about leadership to you and what your goal or your objective is, kind of like what we talked about earlier, is that I think that a lot of people forget the objective is the goal. What is the goal? You sound like that you want to be a voice for the people. You want to be a leader for the people. Make that a part of your objective. Make it very clear what you're looking to get into. And then in that 25 years, believe it or not, it's just like your credit score. The older a credit card is, the more impact it has on your credit score when you're paying it on time. So being with that company for 25 years, you have 25 years of experience. That says a lot. That's very, very transferable. There's a lot in that 25 years that I'm sure we could pull 5 things that we can put on a resume that will stick out to an employer or someone that you're looking to, some type of leadership role that you're looking to get into.
Thank you so very much.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Tia had a question. Oh, they were talking to each other. Okay.
Yeah, I see it. And I wasn't going to forget about you, Tia. I just wanted to make sure that they got done first. But yes, for those of you who would like a copy of today's conference, if you email me, I can send this information to you. My email address is nicole@sibsou.
Check the screen below. Click on the link below. Just kidding.
Blooper. I have to edit this part. Anyway, I'm so sorry. Anyway, yeah, I'll put it in the chat. But it's Nicole at sibsolutionsllc.com. That is Nicole, Nicole, at sibsolutionsllc.com.
Got it.
Yes. I apologize, you all. Anyway, but I thank you all for joining the call. Essence, I really appreciate you. I really, really, really do.
Likewise.
Yes. You all, we will continue our 10-part series on next week, Wednesday, on how to become an effective leader. And again, if you would like to get further information in regards to how to join our calls, how to be a guest on our show, then you can send me an email and we can discuss that further. But if there are no further questions and everybody's hearts and minds are clear, then I bid you all to have a wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing and hear from you all soon. Have a fantabulous week and enjoy.
Bye,
Bye-bye,
guys.
everyone.
Bye.